Under the dark Utah sky, Blind Frog Ranch has never been a place for the faint of heart. For years, Duane Ollinger's team has risked everything to uncover the truth buried beneath its cursed soil. But this time, the discovery wasn't gold, silver, or iridium, it was alive. Deep in the network of uncharted caverns, Chad Ollinger and geologist Eric Drummond stumbled upon something that blurred the line between science and nightmare. Colonies of bats giving off detectable radiation. Descent into the forbidden shaft today began like any other field expedition. Chad leading the exploration crew, with Eric close behind, both determined to map a newly opened shaft revealed by recent flaying. The shaft's walls glowed faintly under their UV lamps, slick with minerals never before catalogued in the region. Every meter down, the air thickened, carrying an acidic tang that made their Geiger counters stutter and click. By the time they reached the cavern floor, their meters were registering radiation levels above normal background, nothing lethal, but enough to raise alarm. Eric, who had analyzed countless ore samples across the globe, was stunned. The readings didn't match any known mineral deposits from the ranch's previous excavations. Something organic seemed to be contributing to the emission. The sound beneath the silence as they moved deeper. The crew noticed an eerie hum echoing from the tunnel system. It wasn't mechanical. It was rhythmic, pulsing, almost alive. Chad scanned the ceiling with his flashlight, and the beam caught movement. Hundreds of tiny shapes suspended upside down. The light bounced off slick wings, revealing clusters of bats clinging to the stone, their bodies faintly luminescent. At first glance, it looked like a natural colony disturbed by explorers. But when Eric's handheld spectrometer detected faint traces of iridium dusting their fur, it became clear these were no ordinary creatures. Something about the minerals in the cavern had fused with their habitat, possibly mutating the wildlife within. The geologist Eric Drummond had encountered anomalies before: magnetized rock, spontaneous radiation spikes, inexplicable voids, but nothing biological that could explain such hybrid contamination. He gathered guano samples and flakes of crystallized residue from the walls, careful not to agitate the colony. The closer he looked, the stranger it became. The bats' wings shimmered faintly under the light, as if the veins beneath their skin had absorbed the radioactive minerals directly. Initial readings suggested isotopes consistent with low-level uranium and thorium contamination, rare for this geological layer. Yet, the bats showed no signs of dying or distress. Instead, they appeared thriving, their population healthy and unusually coordinated, moving as one organism when disturbed. A living warning system back on the surface, the data stunned the entire crew. The radiation levels fluctuated in patterns, pulsing in rhythm, almost as if the colony itself was responding to unseen forces. Eric began to hypothesize that the bats might have adapted biologically to the minerals surrounding them, forming a kind of living sensor network. If true, it meant the creatures had evolved to survive, or even depend on, the radioactive conditions that would kill most life forms. The idea raised haunting questions. Was this mutation a natural evolution, or evidence of human interference buried deep within the canyon's history? Echoes of the past Duane Ollinger, when presented with the findings, couldn't ignore the ranch's long-standing rumors: native petroglyphs warning of winged guardians, government maps redacted near the property lines, and whispered stories of underground testing decades ago. The radioactive bats, though newly discovered, might be ancient sentinels of whatever energy source lies buried beneath the ranch. Old miners' journals found years earlier mentioned singing caves that made lamps flicker and iron tools glow faintly. Locals dismissed them as ghost tales. But now, those stories seemed to hint at biological or geological phenomena beyond current understanding. Scientific scrutiny and skepticism as word of the discovery spread through the production crew. Outside experts were called in for verification. Wildlife biologists suggested contamination from underground water sources carrying heavy metals. Nuclear physicists wondered whether microdeposits of uranium ore could have influenced the bat's metabolic structure. Yet, when samples were sent for lab testing, something confounding occurred. The radiation signature dissipated rapidly upon removal from the cavern. Outside of their natural habitat, the materials lost potency, as if the energy was self-contained within the ecosystem. It was as if the entire cave, and the bats within it, formed a living, breathing reactor sustained by an unknown field. The night of the swarm moon night, during a return expedition, Chad and Eric set up monitoring cameras to capture the bats' nocturnal behavior. Around 3 a.m., the sensors recorded a surge in electromagnetic interference, followed by a swarm eruption. Thousands of bats poured out of the tunnel in a synchronized wave, spiraling upward through the desert sky. Witnesses described the scene as a storm of glowing embers, tiny, luminous bodies pulsing against the moonlight. The Geiger counters spiked briefly before dropping again, leaving a faint aurora-like shimmer in the air. Whatever energy the bats carried seemed to discharge collectively before they vanished into the night. Implications of the discovery of the radioactive bats added a chilling layer to Blind Frog Ranch's already mysterious profile. If living creatures could absorb, regulate, and release radioactive energy in patterns, it could suggest a natural form of bioluminescent radiation storage, or worse, a biological adaptation to contamination. For Eric, the discovery pointed to a new intersection between geology and biology, what he called geo-organic symbiosis. The cavern's mineral structure and the bat's physiology were intertwined in a delicate balance. Disrupting it, he warned, might trigger unpredictable chain reactions across the ranch's subsurface ecosystem. Chad, more practical but no less shaken, saw it as a warning. Every discovery at Blind Frog Ranch seemed to come with a cost. Radiation spikes, collapsed tunnels, magnetic interference, and now mutated wildlife. The deeper they dug, the more it felt as if the earth itself was resisting exposure. Government shadows and hidden files. Not long after, rumors began circulating of black SUVs seen parked miles from the ranch. Helicopters were spotted hovering low over the region. A few weeks later, a researcher who had analyzed the bat samples received an anonymous message warning her to cease investigation into biological anomalies. Duane's team grew increasingly wary. The last time they uncovered something radioactive, the area had been swiftly restricted under environmental pretext. This time, the evidence was alive and mobile, something that couldn't be quarantined easily. If the bats migrated, they could spread the radioactive materials far beyond Utah's borders. A pattern in the chaos Eric began comparing radiation maps from previous digs. Strangely, the bats' nesting zones aligned with the magnetic void anomalies recorded during earlier seasons. It was as though the creatures were drawn to specific frequencies or energies emanating from underground. The team theorized that these locations might correspond to hollow pockets containing unidentified metals, possibly the same source linked to the ranch's mysterious energy readings and black gold rumors. The bats, in essence, were biological compasses leading them toward the heart of the phenomenon. Nature's silent guardians despite the danger, there was a haunting beauty to what they had found. The bats had become part of the ranch's living mythology, a fusion of life and radiation, guardians of a secret humanity had yet to comprehend. Underneath the chaos, Eric saw evolution at work. nature adapting to forces unleashed by human greed or ancient catastrophe. The colony might not just be surviving, they could be maintaining balance, absorbing the excess radiation to keep the deeper sources contained. If so, disturbing their habitat could unleash energy that the planet itself had sealed away long ago. The future of the ranch bee, the end of the episode's events, Duane faced a painful choice, whether to continue drilling near the cavern or seal it off entirely. The potential scientific breakthrough was enormous, but so was the risk. The footage showed the crew's faces illuminated by blue radiation monitors, each flicker marking another unanswered question. Was Blind Frog Ranch sitting atop a natural nuclear reactor, or a biological ecosystem evolved to contain it?